Fox News footage shows mass release of single adult migrants into the U.S. Now, we are told on a regular basis about migrant families being separated, migrant children, etc. This was a huge amount of single adults. I mean, not single as in married or unmarried, but individual.
One at a time.
Yes, one at a time. So the old adage of, well, separating families at the border and all, doesn't always apply. We'll come back and talk about this one. Virginia hospital denies unvaccinated patient spot on active kidney transplant list. Are you kidding? See, this is just kind of to get her blood boiling a little bit. See, I'm the one that used to go on rants. Now, I'm contagious.
Get a shot. Oh, wait a minute, it doesn't work. Never mind.
Next headline, will cost some Americans their lives. DeSantis calls out Biden administration for stopping COVID antibody treatments. Now, yeah, that is one of the ones we'll be coming back to, because if not, I really got something to say about this one, but we'll go on. In the topic of, Bill Hemmer, which is a host on Fox News, Bill Hemmer calls out COVID-19 tests that are branded made in
China.
There you go. Last week we talked about the masks that they were wearing on the floor of the House of Representatives being made in China, and that's what they're talking about today.
Now the ones that we stick up our nose to see if we've got it are made in China.
Psaki says Biden wasn't casting doubt on the legitimacy of the midterm elections. I just ran out of time. Let me just say something about this real quick, because this topic really gets to me. Since the election in 2020, all we've heard was that Trump and Trump's followers and whatever else name they can figure out to call us, mostly derogatory, are evil for casting doubt on the legitimacy of the election. You know, there's no doubt that Joe Biden won. Okay, well, that may be the case.
Ask all the dead people that voted for him.
Now, we're not going to go there. What I want to go to is the fact that we're being made to seem like the only ones that have ever questioned the legitimacy of a midterm election, or not a midterm, but the legitimacy of an election. Because I think if you think back to the year 2000, there was a contested election that took place between Al Gore and George W. Bush. And for 8 years, we listened to George W. Bush is not a legitimate president. 8 years. Not 9, 8. 8 years. Flash forward. Move forward.
Fast
to
forward.
the year. That's what I wanted to say. Fast forward. Well, I'm glad you're here to help me.
Yeah.
Even if you've been so mean and was going to kill me and call the hospital ambulance and all of that.
I'm just going to go get your shovel and dig your own hole. I'll do it for you. You don't need to.
Fast forward to the year 2016. And there was a contested election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And for 4 years, we got to hear that Donald Trump was not a legitimately elected president because the Russians were involved. And we basically shut government down from being able to work because of a lie that the Democrats told that the Russians were involved in that election. So then we fast forward to 2020, and we know that Joe Biden is president, Donald Trump is not, and because Donald Trump supporters questioned what went on in 2020, we are evil and stupid and just put just about any adjective you can in there, because we question whether or not Biden actually won the election. I'm not really talking about the 2020 election outside of saying, quit acting like we're the only ones that have ever had some kind of a doubt that the election wasn't rigged, that wasn't miscounted, those kinds of things. See, that's liberalism 101. Accuse the opponents of what you're guilty of. Honest, that's liberalism 101. That's not just Ed making a funny story. Liberalism 101. And that's one of the many things that is in there. So let's go on with headlines. Judicial Watch FBI letter shows Pfizer tied to investigation of Project Veritas. And we're going to talk about that one. Pro-life victory. Planned Parenthood of Texas drops appeal on Lubbock Sanctuary City. That was good news. Let me scroll down. The last one that we're going to cover. Texas pregnancy centers see clientele shift after abortion ban. And that's an interesting story. So let's go see. We're going to pass that.
Howard Stern, by any measures, was a...
We're not there yet. So you're just going to get to look at this picture for a while. Well, actually, no, I'll go back to the beginning. There. So that the picture doesn't distract you from where we're talking right now.
As long as we don't see Howard Stern's face.
The Virginia hospital that denies unvaccinated patient a spot on the active kidney transplant list. A man seeking a kidney that could save his life is claiming that he has been denied a place on the active transplant list because of his COVID-19 vaccination status. I can't pronounce his first name, but his last name is Connors, is a husband and father of two. He and his wife, a nurse, decided against taking the vaccine after the entire family suffered through the disease last year. However, a doctor at the University of Virginia Hospital allegedly told him that despite his prior COVID-19 infection, his unvaccinated status will not allow him an active spot on the list for a life-saving transplant. Now, it's not like most people that have some kind of a surgery procedure done today forward, for right now, have to go and get a COVID test within, 48 hours or something like that.
Something.
You have to have tested negative within a certain number of hours before they will do that. That's not the case here. This man and his entire family, kind of like us, me and you, both tested positive for COVID. Ours was in November of 20. And we've chosen not to get the vaccination. We believe that our antibodies are sufficient. You know, we're not talking about whether or not you get the vaccine here. We're talking about this man was denied a life-saving treatment. If the story's accurate, I'll put that little disclaimer in there. I believe it at this point. I've not got any reason to not believe it. And so, sorry about your luck. You ain't got a vaccine, so you can't have your life saved with a life-saving vaccine. Oh, wait a minute. It's not necessarily a life-saving vaccine.
No.
What do you think?
Well, I think that you really don't want to know what I
Sure we do.
I don't think that it's fair that they're denying him the right to be on that list when he's not an alcoholic and is choosing not to continue to drink. He's not a drug addict that's not choosing to get off of drugs. He's not a wife abuser refusing not to beat his wife. He's refusing to take something that's not guaranteed him to not get COVID. It's not guaranteed that he will not get COVID. So they are guaranteeing him not to get something that's going to hopefully save his life, but by getting this shot, but they're keeping him from getting something that could save his life by getting the transplant. Now, how is that fair? And Mary's exactly right. It's discrimination and it's bullying. Well, if he was in a school system and he was being bullied like that, guess what? That's not allowed. Is that not the same as a hate crime?
It's bullying for sure.
It's definitely bullying, but it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong.
Well, let's get into this. These are quotes because this was a recorded phone call. Art said you're not interested in the COVID vaccine. And so it is a requirement for you to be active, meaning have an active vaccination. And this just goes on to identify who the doctor is, and that doctor does work at the UVA hospital, works in, is that word nephrology?
Where is the word?
Nephrology is how you pronounce it, right?
Yes.
The man says, I just had COVID, so I don't, so why would I get the vaccine? He responded. However, the hospital did not budge. You may have had Delta, and that may not protect you against Omicron, which is what we're seeing now, the doctor said. So our policy is that in order to have people active on the transplant list and get a transplant, you need to be fully vaccinated. Where's this going? The government is going to pick and choose who can be treated for what. And let me look real quick because I don't think this is... Oh, yes it is. It's next. We'll just skip right into the next because they go together as well as any two stories you can think of. Ron DeSantis in Florida called out the Biden administration on its decision to revoke emergency use authorization. Everything has letters that's called the EUA, emergency use authorization for Regeneron and Eli Lilly monoclonal antibody treatments on Monday. I mean, for months now, we've been hearing of people getting antibody treatments, infusions, those kinds of things. I mean, since before Charles passed away, that's kind of about the time that was getting
really going.
Yeah, really. I mean, it goes all the way back to when Donald Trump actually used Regeneron, I believe, is accurate. But because the Health and Human Services Department of the government has decided that Regeneron and the Lilly treatment, they won't authorize those anymore. You know on here that we like Ron DeSantis.
Love him.
And here's what Governor DeSantis had to say. Man, he just slam dunks Biden on a regular basis. He's like Michael Jordan in the slam dunk contest when he took off from the free throw line and got a perfect 10. You know, I mean, he's out like this, and he's just ready to dunk on him. Without a shred of clinical data to support this action, Biden has forced trained medical professionals to choose between treating their patients or breaking the law, he said in a press release. This indefensible edict takes treatment out of the hands of medical professionals and will cost some Americans their lives. There are real world implications to Biden's medical authoritarianism. Americans' access to treatment is now subject to the whims of a failing president.
Couldn't have said that anymore.
I mean,
any more better. More better?
Yeah, it's good enough.
Any more better?
Now, I won't continue to read. I'll paraphrase what they say after this. The FDA and the Health and Human Services Department say that the Regeneron and the Lilly drug are not effective against Omicron, and that now, you know, they're like all or nothing. It's not like there's quite a bit of Delta still out there and Omicron. No, 99% of all COVID right now is Omicron. So does that mean that Delta is like gone?
Well, is it like the flu and it took the next season off? It needed a vacation?
Well, yeah, one seems to be a consistent number. There was one baby who died of the flu last year, and there is 1% of all COVID is Delta now. Is the original coronavirus gone?
It wore itself out.
It got tired?
Yeah. It needs a vacation too, so...
So we've got the government now influencing things to the point where we won't put people on a list to be able to get life-saving operations. And we also listened to the beginning of a video where a woman needed a liver transplant. Her daughter was a perfect match.
Perfect match.
Neither one of them have the vaccine, thus neither one qualified to participate in the program.
So they're going to let this woman die because they don't qualify because they didn't. Neither one. Who is it going to hurt? It's going to hurt the woman because she's going to die now because her daughter and her, neither one qualify because they've both chosen not to get the vaccine.
We'll go back and say what we say almost every time that the word vaccine comes up. If you want a vaccine, get a vaccine.
More power to you.
Please don't ever think that we are against people who
Absolutely
get the vaccine.
Not.
No problem. We'd be against the majority of our family if that was the case. However, the vaccine is not the cure-all to everything that ails the world.
Well,
the vaccine has nothing to do with liver issues.
Ask what's his name?
Oh, Colin Powell.
Colin Powell. Ask him if it was a cure-all. He's dead. And he was fully vaccinated and he died from COVID. Ask him if that was a cure-all.
Well, and the
Not
point
thinking
is
it was.
That in this case, if I would have went on reading, there are doctors on here that talk about, in our field of medicine, when someone comes to you seeking treatment that could save their life, it is essential to have treatment options to ensure healthcare providers can make the best decision for their patients. The federal government has failed to adequately provide the United States with adequate outpatient treatment options. Now they are scrambling to cover up a failure to deliver on a promise to shut down the virus. So, I don't know. So, I'll put an asterisk by this. But I don't know if taking Regeneron or whatever the other treatment is can be harmful. I mean, anytime you take medication, they've got side effects and all of that. I mean, you know, if you watch a commercial that has something about a drug on it, they have to talk for 30 seconds about the side effects.
Right.
So it's got to be at least a 60-second commercial. So I get that, but to take that out of doctor, basically it's a Joe Biden thing.
To not give them a choice to offer it, it's like, it's the absolute opposite of the mandate of the vaccine.
Well, again,
you're mandating everybody they have to take the vaccine, but then you're taking something that could actually work and saying, nope, not giving it to you, sorry, you're not even going to get the choice to take it. They're giving you an ultimatum whether to do it or not.
Ultimatum. We couldn't think of that word earlier today.
It's either or. I mean,
but the or is
the
nothing.
or is nothing.
Another person. The Biden administration's decision to nationalize the supply and distribution of monoclonal antibodies is a potential death sentence for patients who desperately need them. This is how government medicine works in a nutshell. They decide if you live or die.
And Mary just absolutely said the right thing. She said, and doctors are supposed to do no harm.
Sorry.
She said, doctors are supposed to do no harm. By denying treatment to patients, that's doing them harm. That's exactly right. They take an oath that they are supposed to do everything they can. They take that oath. And denying a patient of something that could save their life, that, really? Man.
Project Veritas is an investigative journalist, not-for-profit organization. In the beginning,
hang on. Bill and Tanya, let's go, Brandon.
Oh,
the government is whacked.
I thought you was going to say wicked.
Well, they are wicked, but
well,
but they said they're. We need DeSantis to run for president.
Please.
We need DeSantis to run for president.
Donald Trump, put your money behind Ron DeSantis.
Absolutely.
Please.
Absolutely.
Please.
Okay, now you can go on. I'm done now.
Project Veritas was loosely tied to live action when they first got prominence because they were doing investigative reports on Planned Parenthood and people, organizations of that nature. Now they're not. Project Veritas and live action are two separate things.
Right.
And Project Veritas does way more than just the abortion issue. And the headline, as you can see behind us, FBI letter shows Pfizer tied to investigation of Project Veritas. Project Veritas has been, actually one of them got sued. I'm trying to think of exactly how this worked. Got sued for exposing something that was true. How does that work?
Got sued for exposing the truth?
Yes.
Wow.
Bombshell Judicial Watch report proves Biden's FBI has a Project Veritas investigation ties and connections to Pfizer. Now wait a minute. What? How'd this happen? Judicial Watch, thank goodness for them, just like Project Veritas, love both of these guys, what they do, filed a Freedom of Information Act request for any and all emails, information regarding Pfizer and the government's connection to the investigation of Project Veritas. If you recall, we had it on this program. We had James O'Keefe and RC and the folks that work for him and all his brave journalists on to expose that Pfizer several times last year, did what? That whistleblower that came out and exposed that fetal cells, yes, were used in the production of the Pfizer vaccine. In another video, a Pfizer scientist admitted that our antibodies are better than the vaccine. All these things Project Veritas exposed. And then what happened? Remember? We had them on. The FBI kicked in their doors, took their phones, raided their homes, 3 or 4 journalists with them. But why? They were just exposing facts and the truth. And also whistleblowers that worked for the company exposing internal documents of what they had found out about the vaccine. What's wrong with you getting that information, folks? Nothing. Now Judicial Watch first filed that Freedom of Information Act request back on December 21st. That was regarding the connection between the FBI investigating Veritas after, again, they exposed Pfizer. On January 6th, the FBI denied the request, saying that the records responsive to your request are law enforcement records. There is a pending or prospective law enforcement proceeding relevant to these responsive records, and release of the information could reasonably be expected to interfere with enforcement proceedings. Meaning, sorry, we're not giving you the goods because it's going to make us look bad. But we'll act like, well, it's an ongoing investigation, so we can't release information. That's what they always say. On January 10th, the FBI denied another request regarding Pfizer emails by Judicial Watch. Why won't you give that up? The FBI said, please be advised, the FBI will neither confirm nor deny, I love that, confirm nor deny the existence of such records.
Okay, this is not even going to be about fetal baby tissue. Is that the...
Fetal baby? It's all the same thing. Baby tissue. Fetal cells that were in the...
It's not about the vaccine period, okay? It's about the FBI covering up things for drug companies.
The lies that were being told.
James O'Keefe, I couldn't think of his name earlier when I was talking about the name Veritas. James O'Keefe is the one that has been sued, probably other ones in the organization as well. They're good at what they do. I mean...
What, lying?
No, O'Keefe,
oh.
They recorded the lies.
Right, okay.
I mean, they go into a place, and if they were sitting here at the table with us, they're good. They get people to just openly admit. Some of the things they got Planned Parenthood to admit to was...
my goodness.
I mean, they spilled their guts.
Planned Parenthood admitted to things that
Planned Parenthood
would
won't
turn
even
your stomach.
Yeah, they admitted to things that they wouldn't admit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, you know, one of the things about tonight is exposing the government for what they are about right now. We talked about, first of all, holding people hostage over the vaccine. We talked about people not getting treatment because of the vaccine. We talked about people not being able to get life-saving operations that has to do with the vaccine. The key thing here, not the word vaccine, government. Government telling us how we're going to live, breathe, and die.
Yep.
Am I right?
Absolutely.
Live, breathe, and die. The government don't have that right. The Constitution does not give our government that right. The Constitution of the United States of America was written so that the government could not tell you how to live, breathe, and die. That's why there are amendments to the original Constitution, because they went back and decided, wait a second, we got to clarify this a little bit so that it's not such a wide,
broad spectrum.
yeah, like a big blanket. We got to narrow this down a little bit and say, you have freedom of speech. You have freedom of religion, not from religion. You have the right to keep and bear arms. None of those things were listed in the original Constitution. That's why the amendment process is there. And if you want to take our freedoms away that are not listed in the Constitution, here's what you have to do. You have to propose an amendment to the Constitution. And that has to be passed by, I think, 39 states. I could be wrong. Somebody can tell me if it's not 39. I think it's 39 states have to, their state legislatures have to approve that constitutional amendment. And if they don't, then keep your stinking hands off of our Constitution.
Yeah, what he said. Who got stirred up now?
Don't make this crap up and think that we have to do it. It ain't about a flippin' vaccine.
Nope.
Get a vaccine if you want a vaccine. Parents for years complained about their kids having to get vaccines. There was a point in time when people of the millennial age would say, oh, we're not making our kids get those vaccines. We don't know what they'll do to them. They may have side effects 20 years down the road that we don't know about. Oh, wait a second. Now they're on the other side. You got to take that vaccine.
Yeah.
You got to.
Pictures of their kids getting them on Facebook.
So it's about the government telling us how to live, breathe, and die. And they ain't got the right.
Absolutely.
They ain't got the right. Let me get one more in here.
Now who got stirred up?
They got me stirred up.
I hear you.
Bombshell Judicial Watch report.
The Texas Pregnancy Center. Well, that's one of my issues. Is I run the words together. I'm trying to move so fast. The Texas Pregnancy Centers are seeing a clientele shift. Quit going backwards. Because of because of the Texas abortion ban.
Take 47.
We did that earlier today, didn't we? Let's look at this for a second. On paper, Texas Heartbeat Act, the most restrictive ban on abortion in the country, doesn't affect the nearly 200 pregnancy centers spread across the state, since such facilities don't perform abortions or make abortion referrals. Most of them are called crisis pregnancy centers. They're there to help a person that is pregnant, that is trying to decide what to do with their unborn baby.
Right.
They don't make any referrals.
Nope.
Abortion is not one of the items on their list.
Absolutely not.
Yet those who work at pro-life pregnancy centers have seen shifts in their clientele ever since the law passed in September, making it illegal to perform abortions on women when a fetal heartbeat is detected. Centers were flooded with phone calls from women worried they might be pregnant or unclear about the details of the law. Tanya Thomas, Executive Director of Pregnancy Help for You in Keller, Texas, said client calls and walk-ins picked up right away. Before we would see them at 6 to 8 weeks of pregnancy, she said, now we're seeing them right at 4 weeks. As soon as they think they should have their period, they know time is of the essence. Now, you know this way better than I do. You might even be able to tell a percentage. I'm not putting you on the spot if you don't, but if a pregnant woman sees an ultrasound of her baby, and here they're talking about at first what they used to see was 6 to 8 weeks. Now they're seeing, the sooner they see an ultrasound of their baby, what happens?
Usually they see a heartbeat right away. Between 17 to 19 days after conception, there's a heartbeat. And as soon as they see a heartbeat, that mother it will change her mind about that.
Well,
because, so what are you asking?
I'm going to back that up just a little bit, because the Texas heartbeat law, if they seen a heartbeat, they couldn't get the abortion.
Right.
But if they're there before the heartbeat, it's still possible.
Right.
But just the fact that, let's say there's no abortion ban in Texas. This happens in Indiana, and a woman sees the ultrasound, the percentage of those who get an abortion goes.
Oh, it drops. It really
Huge,
drops,
isn't it?
especially if they can see the formations of a baby. If it's still small enough that they really have a hard time, or if their ultrasound tech, I can't remember I can't say it. If the ultrasound tech is not a pro-life ultrasound tech, and they are not really pointing out, oh, look, there's a little arm buds, or, it's hard to really detect a whole lot at a really, really young gestation. But if they're really in tune to that ultrasound, then they can pick out a heartbeat, or if they can pick out, the uterus and the baby that's implanted, that drops dramatically. And that's a good thing.
And so, Planned Parenthood's got to be just...
Oh, they're hating that. Here, let me have that, and I'll show it to you.
Yes, they are hating that.
And that's just too bad, because that's money taken away from them, and that to them is... Abortion might as well just have big money signs to them, because that's what it is, a money maker.
Oh, it's women's health care.
Yeah, women's health care. No, it's a money maker. It's a money maker.
Planned Parenthood wouldn't deceive people, would they?
Yeah, no. Planned Parenthood, no. Yes, it's the largest abortion clinic in the United States.
Which makes it in the world.
Absolutely. It's a multi-million-dollar organization.
Well,
and they're straight from Satan.
I tell you what.
Because they get a female in there, they confuse them, and we all know where confusion comes from. Confusion comes straight from hell.
Here's what I'll tell you. Google search Project Veritas and Planned Parenthood, and just watch a few videos, and you'll see what employees or ex-employees of Planned Parenthood say when they think nobody knows any different.
Yeah.
Time for the prayer.
All right.